Guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week, and this is the show where I review all the comics I've read this week in one show. We go least favorite to best pick of the week and everything in between. Before I get started, at the end of the video, we talk about the viewer's pick of the week, so in the comments below, let me know your pick of the week for a chance to be featured. I actually had a pretty big haul this week with 14 books, and number 14 is a new book from DC Comics, Jenny Sparks issue 1, a book I actually was really looking forward to because I don't know anything about the character, and because Tom King was behind it. You know, you're also going to have a really great artist attached, and overall I did like the art. I did like the Tom Kingness of it all, but as someone who doesn't know anything about Jenny Sparks, I don't think I was convinced to like her as a character, and that was something that made it very hard for me to get into this. And also, because I didn't know anything about the character, I could only compare what I've known about previous characters, and honestly, she reminded me a lot of Constantine in tone, obviously the Britishness of it as well. So overall, giving this one 2 stars, just couldn't get into it, and maybe Jenny Sparks fans liked it, but as someone who doesn't know anything about the character, it didn't really make me want to sink my teeth into this character or this comic. So that is number 14 for me. Moving on to number 13, another book I was looking forward to, Something Crawled Out, issue 1 from Vault. I believe this was delayed for a little bit and now finally came out. I like the vibe of the book. It very much feels like a horror movie, but I feel like this would be more successful as a graphic novel or even as a movie, because it did have a bit too much of a slow burn for me until you get to the very end and we're like, okay, that's kind of what this comic's going to be about. And for me, the characters just didn't really hold me tight at all. I just couldn't get into the characters, and that's most of what's going on here to get to that slow burn, to get to that big moment. And because it took that long and I still wasn't attached, it just wasn't a book for me. So giving that 2.5 stars, and that is number 13. Moving on to number 12, Gotham City Sirens, issue 3. This is the penultimate issue of this book. It's been kind of fun. I feel like this book had a lot of potential that it's not hitting, though. The thing I liked the most about this issue, honestly, was just Harley, Poison Ivy, and Catwoman in the jail cell, where they're just talking about feeling dehydrated. I thought that was the best part here, as the rest of the issue focuses too much on the energy drink and Punchline's big plan, without really having those character moments that makes a Gotham City Sirens book. But the artwork is pretty solid, especially for a weekly series. It's just kind of there for me, though. I want this to be a stronger title. So overall, giving that 2.5 stars, and that is number 13. Now it's number 12, I'm sorry. Moving on to number 11, didn't really know how to feel about this book, and that is Witchblade issue 2. I actually really liked the first issue. This one, we get to see how the Witchblade itself is affecting Sarah, and mostly the issue is about her feeling horny, which was an interesting take on the Witchblade and on the character. And I like the interior dialogue or monologue, and I like the idea of this thing controlling her body so much, but it just didn't really do much for me. It was too much in her head. There wasn't a lot of progression in the story, and the take it ended up having with the Witchblade, I just thought was a little out there, a little jump the shark moment for me. The artwork was pretty good, but other than that, that's pretty much all. Moving on to number 10, which is the Powerpuff Girls issue 2. This one wasn't as strong as issue 1 for me. It was more Mojo Jojo centric. I like him as a villain, of course, but he pretty much did his Mojo Jojo thing where he's like, let me go into people's dreams, and I love the dialogue. He's like, I am Mojo Jojo. But the dream sequence just wasn't as, I thought, creative as the first issue of seeing them as different futures and different jobs. But I liked the issue. I had fun with it. It just wasn't as strong as that first issue. I still want to see what elements of the Powerpuff Girls they're going to explore, though, because it looks like the princess character is going to be having an origin story in the next issue. I think that would be pretty fun. So giving that one 3 stars, and that is number 10. Moving on to number 9, which is Titans issue 14. I am getting a little tired of the Raven story. I do think it's a bit of a slow burn. That tends to be what we get with Tom Taylor's storytelling. And there's moments I like here. I enjoy the team coming together and being like, okay, this is not enough just for us. We're gonna get a big superhero team by the end of this. And I'm like, all right, that's fun to see where that issue will go. But most of it is just Raven's bad. Everyone found that out. And it's the slow burn to kind of get there. Good art. Love the art for this book. But it is a little bit too much of a slow burn for me where it's a bit of a forgettable issue. So giving that 3 stars, and that is number 9. Moving on to number 8. the topic of the video, which is Wolverine Revenge, issue 1. So was it worth it being a Red Band? I will say out of all the Red Band books I've read, this one made the most sense for what Red Band has stood for Marvel Comics. By the end of this issue, we get to see the Brotherhood try to attack Wolverine, attack the Avengers. He gets blown up by the Brotherhood, and he's like, well, I want revenge. Did I love this issue? I'm not a huge fan of the blockbuster action issues that are just popcorn flicks, and I feel like that's kind of what this is. Out of continuity, let's just see Wolverine be Wolverine. I want a little bit more story than that. Maybe the next issue will bring that as he gets more revenge, but it does just feel like a revenge story to me. But I liked the gore we were able to get. Because it's Greg Capullo, it's wonderful art. I thought the last panels made it worth it to be a Red Band. But the concept of Red Band with Marvel, I wish was a little bit stronger. I want it to be curse words, sex, you know. We want to see things that we normally wouldn't see in a Marvel book, and I feel like this blood I've seen in a normal Marvel book before. I didn't feel like, wow, they're breaking the boundaries here, and that's why I'm a little confused with the Red Band thing, besides it being a money grab, and why I tend not to get the other version, because then it's even more of a money grab. So I'm a little on the fence if I'm going to get the next issue. I don't feel like it was for me, but I do think if you like these action pieces, this is a better version of this than what we've been getting from Marvel. So overall, giving that one 3 stars, and that is number 8. Moving on to number 7, which is Power Rangers Infinity issue 1. This is a one-shot, an in-between to what we've had with Power Rangers to hopefully what's to come with Power Rangers. And it's just a fun little romp. If you enjoyed Sam Humphrey's Harley Quinn in particular, I think you're going to really enjoy this issue, where we get to see this girl who just wants to be a comic artist, I would say, and I guess writer as well. And she's pitching her idea to Boom, and then she gets to really understand why she loves the Power Rangers as we get these defunct versions of the Power Rangers. And it's a fun little silly book, but I liked, for me, probably the breaking the fourth wall moments the most. I enjoyed the commentary on Boom, the commentary on Power Rangers as a whole, with some fun art. So I thought this was a fun one-shot. I had a good time with it, but it also, I do wonder where Power Rangers is going to go. I don't really know if it really gave us answers on that one. So overall, giving that one 3.5 stars, and that is number 8. All right, moving on. Oh, that was number 7. Moving on to number 6, which is Superman issue 17. With this issue, we get to see more of the magic users of this world, which I like because obviously with Superman, that's his weakness. So we get to see him teaming up with Zatanna. I like the emotional moments between Zatanna and Superman as he talks about his son. I still don't really love it being an absolute power tie-in. I hate when all these books have to stop just to be a tie-in to a main title, but the artwork was good. I personally don't really love magic stories though, so there's elements in the end at the bar, and I'm not a huge magic fan, so I'm not as familiar with them. Neron, I don't know much about the character, so that didn't really do it for me, but I like the more emotional moments between Zatanna and Superman. That's and also Lois. I thought Lois in the suit was cool with Lex Luthor. Honestly, that was probably, again, the moments I like the most because it's the most familiar to what the series has been outside of Absolute Power. So giving that one 3.5 stars, and that is number 7. That was number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is Lawful issue 3. This is a book I shouldn't like, but I genuinely do. I usually don't like fantasy books that much. I really liked how much symbolism there is to this book, and honestly the story moves really well, where we get to see this kid who has been trying to do all the right things for his family, and of course he's a human being, so he has to make mistakes to kind of be a human being, and he's starting to get all these monster scars on him, and he's also kind of noticing his society, how did these people not make mistakes? They probably have made mistakes and they're using magic potions. And at the end, he gets shot. Is he going to die? It was a good cliffhanger. But I just overall like the themes of this book. I think they're really strong with the metaphors that they're trying to use. So even if it's a book that I usually don't like, it keeps reeling me in. So giving that one 3.5 stars, and that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is Nightwing issue 117. I honestly liked the idea of Nightwing getting his faith in falling again and being able to catch himself again, more than the Heartless stuff. There's a lot of Heartless stuff. In the end, you get a little bit more about Nightwing's origins and Tony Zuko, which I guess has been building up to this moment. But it really was just the idea of him learning how to jump again. I thought that was the most interesting part of this issue. Some splendid art, of course, especially from the emotional standpoint. But yeah, whenever it turned to Heartless, that was the thing I was least interested in. I thought just the character work was pretty solid here, especially as we lead to the finale of this long run of Nightwing. So giving this one 3.5 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, a book I've been enjoying because we have the tie-in book as well. Daredevil Woman Without Fear, issue 2. I didn't really like the new Punisher. I read the first issue. I was like, oh, this guy's not really for me. I'm going to skip it. But I liked how Elektra interacted with him and how it expands the street-level heroes of Marvel because we have this new voice. Be like, okay, what's his deal? How do I defeat him? And I like that. It was a pretty simple issue, but it worked because it was action, but also within Elektra's head with really solid gritty art that fits for this book. So overall, giving that one 3.5 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2, of course, Ultimate Spider-Man issue 8. I liked, honestly, the slice of life aspect even more than the Spider-Man stuff. I do actually feel like with the Spider-Man stuff, they're throwing a little bit too much at us. We get Mysterio and promise of Black Cat, and Black Cat's dad looks like J. Jonah Jameson. That's the stuff I honestly didn't enjoy as much as the J. Jonah Jameson party and Peter with MJ. I really enjoyed the slice of life aspect. Even the Harry and Spider-Man stuff, that was kind of middle ground for me because it's like it was the interpersonal relationships, but it was Ben trying to make this new Daily Bugle or new newspaper. I don't actually think we have a name for it yet. And just seeing their friendship. And J. Jonah Jameson's story about being lonely and his conversation with Peter's son, I just thought was really, really solid. And that's the stuff I've been really enjoying about Ultimate Spider-Man because it's the things that we can't really get from other Spider-Man titles. So overall, giving that one 4 stars, and that is number 2. Moving on to number 1, which is Wonder Woman issue 12. I didn't know I needed a Wonder Woman and Damian Wayne team up as much as I did when I read this. I love their dynamic where we get to see them just trying to hound on Boomerang. Again, a connection to absolute power, but it felt outside of absolute power enough where Damian's like, okay, I think the way to get information is to make that person have fear. And Wonder Woman's no, like, let them have love. That's the answer. And they both realize maybe neither is the answer. Neither is the correct path. And by the end, Boomerang's just stupid, and that's why he ends up giving the information. Maybe there could have been a little stronger ending on that one, but I love their dynamic. They're just two very unlikely people to share a page with each other, especially alone. And I didn't know I needed it until I read it, and I just thought this was a really strong issue, especially a strong tie-in that tied into absolute power enough without it taking away from what this main series has been doing. So that's my pick of the week. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite book was. I gave that one 4 stars. And of course, we have the viewer's pick of the week, and the viewer's pick of the week was Defenders of the Earth, issue 1 from Mad Cave, and here are some comments about that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I will mention that I won't have an episode next week, so I will be back 2 weeks from now, and if you want my thoughts on the books that came out next week, I will be on Comic Book Weekly the week we talk about those episodes. There'll be a link in the comments below, so you guys could go check out that podcast. We do that every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, so go check that out. Thanks, guys. See you in the next one.